This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, folks, good afternoon for our last meeting of 2023. And I call this meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Staff Bulligan, who's, as we all know, is our operational commander for our lovely municipality and for our new 3M board, I guess, that's coming up in the near future. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Do we have any members of the public online that wish to be part of a question period? Okay, hearing none, moving forward. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended as I sent it out? Motion to approve by Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor?
Mr. Chair, if I could, I'd like to raise something under new business having to do with towing.
Yep, certainly. We'll
Thank you.
reflect that. Okay, I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting, which was held on September 6, 2023. Moved by John, seconded by Wayne. All in favor? Carried. Matters arising from those minutes, we'll be handling those under status updates, so we'll get right into it. Automatic speed enforcement, I guess we don't have any real updates on that, or do we, Mayor Creelman?
I've written a fresh letter to the new Minister of Transportation stating our longstanding plea for no strings attached automated speed enforcement. That letter went out about 3 weeks ago and I haven't heard anything back.
Okay. Anything update on POA?
My understanding is that it's going relatively well, and I'm just keeping my fingers crossed it stays that way. I don't know what the officers are finding when they attend court. There are probably still too many adjournments for flimsy reasons, but that's always been the case.
Staff, do you have any insight on how that's going?
I don't. I mean, true. Historically, what was said is true, but I don't know of any updates. I can sort of gauge the temperature on that and look into it more.
Okay, very good. The Black Cat, I noticed in your Q3 report that you have a very nice new reporting methodology there for the results of the Black Cat. So maybe we can discuss that when we do the Q3 report. I guess it's about to be put to bed for the winter soon anyway, I would think.
True, yeah.
Okay. There's an item here on the bylaw letter. I think in our last discussions, at our last meeting, we were forwarding through to you, staff, the previous MOU that had been done between Staff Sergeant Nikki and the town with respect to the bylaw. It was sent through to you by Cheyenne, I think. So are we all good now with bylaw enforcement regulations?
Yep.
Okay. Well, that was easy.
Mike, Mr. Chair, if I could just confirm that the OPP are comfortable enforcing the limited number of bylaws that we've specified, if necessary.
Okay, that's great.
We obviously don't look to you to stand in place of our bylaw enforcement officers, but if you can augment what they do, it's greatly appreciated.
Yes, and I mean it's a good tool in our toolbox. You're right, we're not, the primary bylaw enforcement, but it does help us with, habitual noise complaints and stuff like that. I'm not aware of us, since the tickets have gone out, laying any of those charges. Yeah, officers are aware of it, and as I said, Larry is one that is the one laying quite a few of the tickets, albeit dated ticket book, which I'll fix. Yeah.
They're probably
Mr.
paying
Chair,
him. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, I should indicate that at council this week, I expressed a personal view that now that the pressures are off with regard to parking all over the place, that maybe we should reconsider the size of some of our no parking zones and maybe shrink them back, which will make it easier for enforcement, give our residents maybe an opportunity to park on the side of the road to go for hikes, but at the same time protect parts of the roads where the shoulders are soft and get damaged when people park. But we cast a very, very broad net with our increase in no parking zones throughout the town. And I think it's time personally, again, to reconsider that.
Okay, so you will leave that with you to discuss with council, and whatever happens, we'll communicate back through to the OPP and to your bylaw enforcement folks. Very good. False alarm report, Cheyenne. Saw lots of them on the report there.
Waiting for it to load. July, we had 8 false alarms. August, we saw 18, and September 10, bringing the total to 36 for this quarter. And for the entire year, we had a total of 84 tickets. I haven't done completed compiling them into our citywide program to get the full data for this quarter on any, double false alarms, but I will let you know at our next meeting.
Okay, very good. Motion to receive the false alarm report. Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I see we don't have our community policing rep with us again. Have we had any conversation with him at all, Cheyenne?
No, and no response when I send out any of the agenda information. I've received nothing from him.
Yeah, he does post from time to time on Facebook, so it appears that he's still interested. So maybe we should reach out to him and see if there's anything that we can do to help him, or to if there's any reason why he's not coming on board with our meetings. I can draft something up and send him an email on it, Cheyenne. If you want to just
Okay, sounds good.
put that into the minutes, that I'll do that as an action item.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, Mike,
Yes.
I have a question. I don't know if John's able to answer this or not, in terms of last year, the OPP held an open house, community open house. They didn't do one this year, or did I miss that?
No, you didn't miss it. Ironically, we were gonna hold one. It was probably about 3 weeks ago, was when we had planned it, and we just couldn't get it squared up in time, and the inspector was away. So we're looking at it in the spring now, doing it. Yeah, so it is on the books for our community response unit. We just felt spring would be best time, because also getting into the cold weather, it's more of an outdoor event.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're just going to put it off, but we are doing it.
Okay, well, that sounds good. I think it was, I attended the last one, and I thought it was a good thing. There was even some schools showed up and stuff. I thought it was a good thing. It was kind of a rainy kind of day, but it still was. You can't change the weather, but it's maybe better luck, like you say, in the spring. So for weather-wise, so. But,
Yeah, like we
it's a good
We even
interaction.
discussed the garages, our garages, you know, might have some capacity for it, but we just decided just to put it off and that, so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I note that you had quite a good display and turnout at the jobs fair that they held out at the Ag Center. I guess it was last week or in the last couple of weeks. You had a cruiser there, and all the kids were coming there, and it was a good opportunity for you guys to show off.
Yeah, I'm actually not, to be honest, not familiar, but honestly, that's our auxiliary unit maybe. They're just constantly doing events, so that's good to hear. Yeah.
No, it was actually Terry Ann, I think, was there, and I was looking at the pictures on Facebook. Sandy Brown, the ex-mayor of Orangeville, had posted them. It was basically like a job fair, but like a career day that we used to hold back when we went to school, and all the high school kids came, and they had one of your cruisers was in there, and it looked like there was um, and it was sworn members. It wasn't
Okay.
wasn't checkerboards. So anyhow, that's good. Whatever they're doing, keep it up. So that's a good segue into your quarterly report highlights there, staff.
Okay, yeah, and you know what, I'll speak to staffing sort of at the tail end, which hits on the recruiting part of that event. So just going over the overall stats, I don't see any substantial increases. I mean, the only significant change is under the cocaine trafficking. It's a decrease, so I didn't dig further into that because that's not a bad thing. Getting into just, I want to highlight, so the part 1 and part 3 summary. Overall, consistent. There is, some drops early in the year. So we're sort of looking at the overall decrease in traffic enforcement in the north half of Dufferin County. We noticed that, and it's really a no-brainer. It's a staffing thing. Last year we had 4 traffic members plus a traffic sergeant, and we're down 1 traffic member for the north half. So we are addressing that. We actually have a new sergeant coming in January. So we hope to get back to our traffic unit numbers. So that just sort of speaks to the part 1 and part 3 stats there. We really feel it's a staffing thing from last year versus this year. You have the Black Cat data that we spoke of there. As you said, we are shutting it down for the winter. I mean, one thing I just, since we have this Black Cat discussion that I'd like to discuss down the road with the municipalities that have them, we're always trying to find a way to maximize our uniform officers doing enforcement. And the Black Cats are given to our traffic unit to deploy, which takes a lot of their time, or it takes up a significant amount of their time. So, I'm sort of thinking outside the box, and I don't know if there'd be an appetite for the municipalities that have it to have their roads department staff help with the Black Cat deployment. Just food for thought. That's something I'd like to discuss down the road with the municipalities that have it, because like Rob Button, he's our traffic sergeant, and he's the one putting it out, and that's time away from enforcement. So just something that I'd like to bring up in the future to discuss. That's it for the Black Cat, and then just going to some of the media releases. I just want to highlight the Safe on 10, which was during this quarter. That was sort of mid-September when we did that. So that was our own initiative. We led that, and Grey County and Caledon helped us out with it. So obviously Highway 10 from the bottom end to the top, and huge success in that. And again, this Safe on 10, it highlights our automatic license plate reader, the how useful that tool is. One of the highlights was our traffic member on Highway 10 spotted a vehicle through the plate, suspended driver. He turned around, the guy took off, and he crashed right away. And lo and behold, he had a loaded handgun, gang member on house arrest with a substantial amount of drugs. So these license plate readers are just a real game changer, and demonstrate their success on the Safe on 10 campaign. So that was Rob Button, Acting Sergeant Rob Button, who led that, and very successful in that. And then just as you sort of started off the conversation about the recruiting there, we do have 4 new recruits coming February 24th. No, sorry, February 15th, 4 new recruits. As I said, a new sergeant coming January 22nd. He's actually a former member of Dufferin, Sergeant Mark Quinton. And I hope to hear in the next few days. There's another recruit class in May. I'm optimistic about that. So a lot of numbers being pushed through for recruiting. Typically there's 2 classes a year. They're doing 4 classes a year now. So again, that's really going to help us out. And that's really it for the highlights. Unless there are any questions.
Mayor Creelman.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you mentioned Highway 10 and the emphasis you placed on it. I don't know if you're aware, but the Ministry of Transportation is supposedly doing a study of Highway 10 through Caledon and ultimately through Dufferin County, with the view to determining whether there are any design changes and safety measures that can be taken. The first part of the study focuses on Caledon. The second part focuses on Dufferin. I am wondering whether or not the OPP has been contacted about this study and whether you have been asked to cooperate with some of the statistics you have with regard to collisions and speeding and the like.
I'm not aware. I could check with the traffic sergeant. Now, what they would normally do is, our collision, our traffic reports, electronic collision reports, they would collect data through those, which they have full access to. So it's not like they would be getting data through our other databases, because it's what's called ECRS is where all that data would be held. But I'll double check if there's been any conversations with the traffic sergeant, but I'm not aware of that, because I just assumed they would collect it through our ECRSs.
My concern from the very beginning on this is that MTO, being very engineering focused, is not going to be looking so much at the number of accidents and the speeding as they will be looking at the design of the road and coming to the conclusion that there's nothing wrong with the design from the standpoint of the traffic volume, and then basically closing the book on it. So I'm really curious as to whether or not their study is 360 degrees and not 180 from the standpoint of the design of the road versus what's happening on the road.
Yeah, I'll have to reach out, and I mean, we could, I say ECRS is the way to collect all the data, but we also have analysts that can show hotspots. So like hotspots for collision and hotspots for enforcement. So that, I mean, yeah, it's a good point that I overlooked, that there is other data collection methods other than ECRS. So I'll have to see who our MTO point of contact is and offer to share that if they need it, if that's what you're inferring, right?
Absolutely. And if you can let us know what the outcome of that is, so that we can keep the pressure on MTO to do a proper and thorough study.
Yep. Yes, sir. I'll dig into that. Yep.
Staff, are you on the joint board meeting on Friday?
I am. Yeah.
Well, maybe if you're able to reach out to somebody before that meeting, because I know it could be a point of discussion for the joint police board meeting as well. So if you're able to get any information at all, it would be a great location to dump it to all of the police boards in Dufferin.
Yeah. No, I'd like to know what their methodology is in how they redesign a road or how they make it safer. And is it fulsome? Does it involve our data and that? So,
Right.
yeah, I'm sure I could square that away by Friday.
Perfect, because you guys came up with some really great data and statistics for us when we did our community safety review a couple years ago, including all the hotspot for collisions, the hotspots for speeding, and it was great information for that report. Just a couple comments on the Q3. I did note that in the last quarter, the violent crime was up a bit, but the property crime was up substantially. Even though year over year it's not that bad, it seems like our property crime stats were up, and I didn't deep dive into see what categories of things were increasing, but the good news is, looking at the billing summary, that our hours year over year is almost status quo. So it's not like overall things aren't getting worse, and they're just maintaining status quo, which is good.
Yeah, I don't, the property crime, I mean, you don't have businesses that involve that many that involve shoplifting, but shoplifting is significantly on the rise. I'm just really thinking, is it all your dealerships? Because as we all know, auto theft, I think is about last year or this year's even 50% more. And I know those Highway 9 dealerships have been hit several times since I've been here. But I'm really speaking anecdotally. I don't know, the facts behind that. I'm just sort of thinking from my knowledge and experience.
Yeah, it looks like theft over, or pardon me, theft under was up from 16 from 6, and we've had a few other mischiefs and things. So it's probably thefts from trailers or drive and dash or things like that. So
Right.
okay, Mayor Creelman.
Yes, I can actually speak from firsthand experience. On Tuesday morning, I woke up to take out the recycling and garbage to discover a black pickup truck on our property, stuck in the field just beyond the field entrance. Turns out it was stolen from one of the dealerships, and the way it got there was rather diabolical. They apparently put it up onto a dolly and then were towing it. And at some point, I guess they figured that they had to get off the road. They saw the field entrance, blew through it, and literally there were logs that they splintered to do it. And then they simply abandoned the whole thing right then and there. But it was a theft from one of the Highway 9 dealerships. And in speaking to the owner of the dealership, he said this is becoming a real problem. Not that the folks are terribly sophisticated, but they're using sophisticated means to actually steal the vehicles.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they're cloning the keys, the electronic keys. There's a whole new, they've defeated the previous cloning method with the new cloning method. They're really staying on top of it. Ironically, I actually wrote an auto theft grant, which I'm told is looking good. Which we would get a share of. It was just over $800,000 that we can use in a focus effort. So, for example, overtime shifts just to focus on the dealership area when we think that crime trends are going to dictate that, right? So, yeah, I mean, auto theft is still a huge issue.
And I should indicate my compliments to the police for arriving very, very promptly. It was a bit disconcerting because I originally thought it could be a hunter who'd pulled off the road and tried to drive into the field, which was freshly plowed, and got stuck. But upon investigation, and I didn't get that close to the vehicle, I saw that there was something underneath it. And at first I thought, and I think your officers thought, that it was a trailer that had been sort of spun in front of the vehicle such that it ran over it. But it turned out to have been some kind of traveling dolly mechanism that was hooked up. Apparently the dealership has video, which they've provided. But as I say, there is a concern out there that this is increasing and somewhat out of control, and it isn't necessarily locally initiated. It's people from outside the community who are traveling through, trying to find a place where they can operate for a short period of time, and then when things get too hot, they move on.
Yep. And those dealerships are on Highway 9 are a prime location, just on the edge of the GTA, just on the edge of town, quiet spot. So, I mean, one thing, yeah, I mean, they're pretty much all in mono. I can
Yes.
look into is, we have crime prevention through environmental design, which is where we have officers or auxiliary officers. They usually go to houses or businesses and survey and consult on security measures. That's something that I can speak to our auxiliary unit about doing. I had actually done it ironically when I was in Nottawasaga for the gas stations on Highway 9, because the gas stations always break and enter. So I'll note that, and we can just go in and check with each of the dealerships there and see if we could give some advice on that crime prevention through environmental design.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Very good. Any other questions on the Q3 report, Wayne?
No.
Okay, motion to receive the OPP oral report, moved by Mayor Creelman, seconded by Member Evans. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, the next item is something that I saw in the minutes of the agenda for the town council meeting yesterday. And it was of interest to me. It's the report on the provincial offenses, the money allocations paid to the different municipalities, and just of interest. And don't want to discuss the whole report here, but it shows that in 2022, the town of Mono payments to the municipality was 201,620, as opposed to 41,795 the year before. So that was pretty outstanding. And looking at the other municipalities, the total for 2022 for the entire Dufferin was 572,000. So we were almost half the revenue Larry generated, I guess, came to the town of Mono from this report. So I just found that to be an interesting piece of information, that we're actually are getting some money, and it's paying for Larry's salary anyway. Mayor Creelman,
Well,
was that discussed at all yesterday?
yes, and I made a couple of observations. The first is that the high amount of money is attributable to the great work that Larry does, and the fact that for 20 years now, Mono has invested in a supplemental to the OPP for additional traffic services. And it really, really pays off in terms of enforcement, safety, and then not to suggest that we do it for the money, but it does accrue good traffic fines. So that's why we're far and ahead of other municipalities who are simply working on the basis of a standard contract. The second observation I made was it would be a whole lot better if the province were to wrap its head around the fact that they have that the POA system province-wide has over $1 billion in unpaid fines. And in Dufferin County, we account for $4 million in unpaid and maybe uncollectible fines. But there's been reports written to suggest ways of ensuring that fines that are assessed in court are in fact collected. The province has not acted on those reports. And yet again, I've written another letter and had a long conversation with the Attorney General about fixing this system, because the irony is that they probably dismiss it because they say, well, it's, revenue to the municipalities. It's actually not that simple. Of the $1 billion in unpaid fines, the province is foregoing something like $200 million in victim surcharge monies that they could otherwise spend on good things that they are now funding from the tax base. So this is a huge problem, and I'm not giving up on it.
The automatic license readers, are they tied to the registered owner, or like if there was warrants of committal, would they be flagged on the system by the license plate reader?
Well, you know what? I don't want to say that wrong. Yeah, they're tied to the registered owner. So the RO, the registered owner, comes up once it reads a plate, and then it does show if they're suspended. I'm quite sure it'll show if they're wanted. So on CPIC, I'm quite confident of that. Definitely suspended, definitely HTA related stuff for sure.
So the fact that you have more and more of these on the cars now, we should be hopefully clearing up some of that backlog then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. The other point of correspondence that I noted was the communication that went through to Megan Townsend from Grand Valley with respect to the joint or the merging of the police boards, and the notice that the marriage of Melancton, Mono, and Mulmer has been approved. So I guess we'll find out more from Dwayne Sprague at our joint board meeting on Friday as to what timings, et cetera, might be. But it looks like that will be moving forward. And there's a lot of unknown quantities that are going to have to be identified, including, how we operate, how our local towns and municipalities, and us in Mono, for example, how we will continue to deal with the additional funding for the Larry type activities. So there's a lot of things that are going to have to be ironed out between now and them officially marrying us together with these other municipalities. So should be interesting times ahead. Okay, any comments on that? Okay, moving forward. New business. Well, it's that time of year where it's time to appoint a chair. So do we have any nominations for the chair of what could be a short year for 2024?
I nominate you, Mike. You do an excellent job, and I think we run very smoothly with your help. So I think I would like to nominate you for that role.
I second.
Okay, all in favor? I accept. All in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, the next item is our meetings for next year. We usually set them now, and so we'll set the 4 meetings, but that of course would be subject to any changes in the dissolving of our board. So the proposed meetings would be the same weeks as this year, i.e. February 7th, June 12th, September 11th, and November 13th. Any opposition to those dates at the present time, subject to, of course, everything? Yes, John?
I'm just wondering whether we can make a decision to do these once again, either in person or hybrid, one or the other. I think it's time we all see each other again.
Yeah, I think we could probably, weather permitting, plan on the February 7th meeting to be held at the chambers, not in the chambers, but we had been meeting in that little conference room upstairs there. But anyway, somewhere at town hall.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep, and we'll continue at 1 o'clock because it's better for staff, I think, and especially in the winter for traveling. Okay, do I have a motion to accept those dates?
Yes,
Moved by Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. New business, John, you had on towing.
Yes, this is a question for John, and it flows from the the incident I described with regard to the vehicle in my field, and it actually jogged my memory as to a long discussion we had about a uniform towing bylaw across Dufferin, and I believe that, in fact, I know that was not followed up on. Because number one, the province was promising to do some work in this realm. I'm not certain whether they did or not. And also, the local OPP were getting much more vigilant about approving local pounds and refining the lists that they work off when a tow truck is required. Just wondering if you could describe to me how the system works now and whether there's any issues.
Yeah, so it's ironic because we just completed our requirement to basically, we annually evaluate and assess all the tow companies. So yeah, we had just completed that. So it's a process that's done annually. It involves, so Sergeant Rob Button led that, inspecting all the tow trucks that are on our list. So there's the approved list, inspecting all the pounds. So attending the pounds, making sure that they meet certain criterias. I don't know them all, but like fencing, security, things like that. So once that's done, the tow companies that want to be on our list, even the tow truck drivers are reviewed. I mean, it's kind of difficult with criminality and that, but so that whole process is done. And we had, as you said, the province is supposed to roll out in the near future a provincial toll policy. So when we had met with several of the toll companies about 2 months ago. There were just some concerns raised, and we wanted to iron out some issues. It was agreed upon that we just might as well wait until the province rolls out the new toll program, which I'm told is supposed to be in the new year. At this time, we have our own internal toll policy, which involves officers using a next toll on the list. So it's done in a fair way. And those are tolls that we call police tolls, i.e. an impaired driver or having to get a vehicle off the roadway for safety reasons. We would use that toll list. So so far so good. Rob Button, he monitors it. He addresses complaints. Ironically, we dealt with a toll issue yesterday that he became engaged in. So yeah, that just kind of sums it up. We have our own toll policy, and we're waiting. And then we have an annual process that we have to vet and review all the toll companies. And we're now just waiting for the provincial toll program to roll out.
Thank you. One of the questions I have is your tow policy, does your tow policy require that the vehicle be towed to a pound within Dufferin?
No, no, I don't. I'll have to I don't want to answer that wrong. I can double check and get back to you. Because it could be, see, for example, there's some Caledon companies that are on our toll list, I believe. So that may not be the case, but I'll double check and get back to you.
I think that's very important because when this issue arose a couple of years ago, the biggest complaint that I heard was that for whatever reason you happen to need a tow, vehicles were being towed to as far away as South Mississauga,
Right.
simply because those tow operators were either prowling around and picking up vehicles, or they were on the list. And one thing that we wanted to stop was vehicles being towed out of the jurisdiction to the inconvenience of the owner. And the story I heard about the vehicle that I referred to earlier was that a Mississauga-based tow operator was next on the list. The owner objected strenuously to that and was told there was nothing that could be done. The inference being that the stolen vehicle would be towed to a pound in Peel Region. And I believe an exception, quote unquote, was made because the owner was adamant that it be taken to a pound of his choice in Dufferin County. So if we are still towing vehicles out of community simply because we have approved tow truck drivers who do not want to use Dufferin pounds, I think we've got a problem.
Right. Now, I mean, a member of the public a member of the public can have their vehicle towed wherever they want it towed. You know, if ABC Tow Company from Mississauga picks up my vehicle and I want it towed, I dictate where I get it towed to, from what I understand. So I'm sort of curious about that scenario, but
That's what I thought too. So I was very surprised to hear that the tow truck dispatched was going to be from an operator based in Mississauga. And as I say, the inference was that it was not going to be dropped off at a local pound. It was going to go somewhere else. I always thought that the owner of the vehicle could specify where they wanted their vehicle to end up. And that may vary it may vary depending on the reason for the impoundment. But in this case, this was a stolen vehicle from a car dealership. And obviously the car dealership wanted to make certain that it ended up in a local pound, and one that they were associated with, actually.
Yeah, that doesn't seem proper to me. But I'll double check. Yeah.
Okay.
From like you, and as you said, it depends on the circumstance. If it was an impaired, no, if it's an impoundment, that's different, right? But if
So
it's,
if it's stunt, I'm not suggesting that we make it easy for the stunt driver to retrieve their vehicle by storing it locally. But I think in cases where there's an accident or a theft, the owner should have some leeway in terms of where the vehicle is taken. I'd appreciate it if somebody could get back to me on that, and I'd happily provide more details offline.
yes, I'll look into that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, hearing none, I have a motion to confirm the proceedings of the meeting of the Mona Police Services Board held today, the 15th of November. Moved by Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor, opposed, carried. Motion to adjourn at 1:47 in the afternoon. Moved by Wayne, seconded by John. All in favor, opposed, carried. And our next meeting will be on Wednesday, February 7th, 2024 at the town hall, hopefully. And we'll see you all online again on Friday. But if we don't see you in person before Christmas, make sure you have a good one and drive safely and don't drink and drive.
Okay, probably see you Friday then.
Adios.